you feel like you've lost a friend in a way as well as a manager?
Can you be friends with your boss?
How would you feel if you woke up on Monday morning, you put the radio on and you hear that Jurgen Klopp's the England manager?
Be surprised.
You know, the Lineker stuff about what he said about the England performance being etc. Did that filter through?
I mean, we all seen and heard it and felt it.
Who's the best player that you've come up against directly, you know?
Against it.
Talk about the highs and lows with the penalty in the final. Obviously, the result which everybody hoped we could avoid. Now you've had time to reflect on it. How do you see it? You know, because there was a lot of criticism, as you know, about performances and all that. But obviously, you got the second successive final. Gareth got two finals and a semi-final of the World Cup, which is extraordinary, really. How do you see it now? You're back and you're giving it a bit of perspective, as it were, Trent.
I think it's always an achievement to get it so far. I think that's what we targeted and that's what we aimed for, was to go far into the competition and reach the final and to win it. Of course, we're disappointed and we would have wanted to have won it, but when you do look back on it in hindsight, we had a lot of tests throughout the tournament. We overcome a lot, a new group, and we showed signs of being successful. So I think looking forward into the future, I think there's no reason why England can't go and win a World Cup in 2 years or the next Euros.
It must have been very exciting to be part of that group, because you've got debutants, you've got people who are there at their first tournament. Some amazing talent there, isn't there? I mean, they keep talking about it being the best players of their generation. Did you feel that in training? Did you feel like it was, when you got there, that you had a real chance of winning? Everybody said you were one of the favourites.
Yeah, I think when the final squad gets announced and you look at your teammates for the next month or 5 weeks, you're excited. I think for me it was, it's always an honour and a privilege to go to a major tournament. Obviously I missed out on the last Euros through injury. So this being my first one, it was an exciting experience for me, one that you never take for granted, and you go out there aiming to come back with the trophy, and when you look around the changing room and your teammates in training, you have that confidence that you're able to do that, and we came very, very close.
Within the camp, how did you feel about the criticism, when you heard about it? Did you feel it was really unfair when you see what happened to, Slovenia, for example, with Portugal? And do you feel like once you got through to the later stages, kind of the group games were given a bit more perspective, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think not everyone understood or really appreciated was any team that had reached that tournament was a top nation.
Sure.
It was a good team, because it's not easy to even qualify. So any team that had reached that far was always going to be good, and I think maybe people took that for granted. And then you go throughout the tournament and you realise how high the level of opposition is and how tricky every game is and how every nation poses a threat to you. But I think that was something that we spoke about early on, before we'd even set out to Germany, was no matter what was getting said, good or bad, we remained in our bubble, as a team, as England, and we can't let anything affect what our goals and ambitions are and what we set out to go and achieve. So in our head, it didn't matter what people were saying on the outside, really, because we had that belief and confidence that no matter what was thrown at us, we were able to cope with it.
Sure.
And that obviously showed in the knockouts, going behind and having to win in different ways, showing our resilience and our mentality.
Yeah.
We showed that massively.
I was looking up your record, Trent, and it's quite extraordinary that, by 23 you'd won pretty much every every honour there is to win, arguably the most successful young talent, and yet there's this debate about, you know, should you be playing in midfield because of your extraordinary range of passing? Should you be playing at right back where obviously a major name, if one can put it that way? Do you have a view on that now? Do you think, right, okay, this coming season I want to be playing midfield because I feel like that's my best position, or do you feel like more comfortable at right back because that's where you've always played?
No, I don't particularly have any opinion on it, if I'm honest. And even if I did, it's not my decision.
Yeah, that's
So
very
it's
true.
not-
That's very true. It's more like an instinctual thing, isn't it? You know, if somebody asked you where would you want to play, you don't have a view either way. You're just quite
Not
happy.
particularly, no. Just as long as I'm on the pitch,
Yeah.
really. I want to impact games. I want to help the team win games, whatever position that may be, in whatever way I can. I just want to be someone who can help the team win and be successful. And
Yeah.
for me, team always comes first. So whatever role I'm asked to do, whether it be a defensive fullback role or an attacking fullback or whatever role within midfield, it doesn't matter to me as long as I follow the instructions that I'm given
Sure.
and try and carry them out with the best way that I can and help the team win the game. Then I'll try everything to do that.
Did you feel like it didn't have that much time to gel? That was the kind of general feeling. I think that, you know, obviously when you go to a tournament like that, you might expect somebody who's been playing right midfield, you know what I mean, for seasons, to be in that position, and it kind of had a feeling of you being thrown into it a little bit. Did you feel that way, or did you genuinely not feel that way when you're asked to play in a position? You just think, right, that's me to, you know, ready to go.
Yeah, it's something that we kind of spoken about over the last year or so. So I knew that was part of the manager's thinking. It was obviously going to be a new role for me, one that I'm not naturally used to playing week in, week out for club.
Yeah.
So it was something that I would need to learn quite quickly and try my best to learn. And that was something that we tried. Start the first two games, get the results that we needed to get through the group. And then as the tournament progresses, the team changes and the manager makes his changes. But you know, I was more than happy to play any role, and that was my mentality going into the tournament.
Sure.
I was never obsessed about where I was going to play or how long I was going to play and what role I was going to play. It was just about being there, being a part of the group, helping the team win as many games as possible, pushing, whether I was starting or coming off the bench or not involved. It was always about every day pushing as hard as I can in training, to make sure either I'm ready or the team's ready. Because I mean, you see in tournament football, I think especially in this tournament, more so than any other really that I can remember, is how important substitutions were.
Sure.
So again, that was something we spoke about early on, was that we're going to need all 26 players. And you know, at tournaments with a squad like that, some players aren't gonna touch the ball.
Yeah.
Some players will play every minute, some players will be on and off the bench. But you need everyone every day in training to prepare everyone the best way possible. So I think we really bought into that early on, and it paid off.
I think the thing that really came through when you were watching, actually, in adversity and in triumph, you know, the penalties leap to mind. You can't really fake a team ethos like that. Do you know what I mean? You seem to genuinely have a real bond there. Would you agree with that? That's something that Gareth, without a shadow of a doubt, has introduced.
100%. I think you see that the more the tournament went on, and like you said, the adversity that we faced, it brings you closer together. And you get that real belief of you're gaining momentum, you're gathering pace, and everything's clicking. And then by the end of the tournament, you're a really well-knitted group, knows the ins and outs of each other, and everyone gets along, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. So, you know, it's like I said at the start of the tournament, there's lads who have never played a game for England. There's new lads in and around the squad. There's lads who have played almost 100 times. And then by the end of the tournament, everyone's almost best friends, you know. and it's a close-knit group. It's like a brotherhood, really.
Did Gareth ring you when he made the decision to go? Did you speak to him? Did you know in advance that was happening?
No, I don't think anybody knew, to be honest.
And how did you feel? How did you feel when you heard the news?
I mean, it's similar to how I felt with my club manager leaving. You know, these are the two managers that gave me my debuts and gave me opportunities. So, you know, I owe a lot to both managers. Yeah, handed me my dream, really. So I can only be thankful and grateful for every opportunity I've been given, and for the amazing memories that we've had together.
Well, I tell you what struck me about it, Trent. Everyone's an England manager, aren't they, in a tournament? I don't know if you've noticed that. You get in a taxi and they're talking. Everybody's talking about the game, which you may not be aware when you're in your bubble. Do you feel like Gareth sort of has got a fair crack of the whip from fans in terms of the criticism of his choices and, you know, the performances? Haven't got, as we said at the outset, 2 finals, a semi-final, a quarter-final. Obviously, you know, apart from Ralph Ramsey, the most successful manager. Do you feel like he's a little bit kind of underrated in a way?
Yeah, I think the England manager job is probably one of the hardest jobs to do.
Yeah.
You're always going to be judged. You're always going to be under speculation, and people will always have their opinions. But I think the way he's handled himself, the way he's driven the team, created an environment of for us players, and has really, you see the unity within the nation when you see us in those tournaments. You feel it. You feel everyone pulling together and everyone really buying into it. So I think no matter what, every manager comes under criticism. I think the way he dealt with it and has dealt with it was incredible. Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate to have played under him.
There are kind of comparisons, I think, aren't there? Because I know you said that you feel like you were everything to Jurgen Klopp. They very much leaders who you admire, I think. Do you know what I mean? So you get some who are kind of, you know, like to be disciplinarian and tough, and with both Southgate and particularly with Jurgen, obviously because you're with him for so much longer, more intensity, I guess, on a day-to-day basis. The people who you kind of think are thoroughly decent human beings above and beyond the game, would you agree with that? Do they inspire you to do well because you want to do well for them because you like them, really?
100%. I think, especially within football, you see when you're working with people, you get to know them as a person, and especially when you're on tournaments and in tournaments and you're around them every day and living with them, and it's a very intense month or so. So you really get to know everyone around camp, and you see how much of a good person he is, an amazing person, amazing man. So you know, when he does give you those opportunities, you'll run through a brick wall, basically.
And obviously felt the same way very much about Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, on a day-to-day basis, that's very intense. So you feel it a lot more. But again, it's the same outcomes. You feel the same way. Like I said, you would run through a brick wall for them because you believe in what they're saying, and you know that they're honest people. When you buy into it, so.
And obviously extraordinary success as well through that methodology. Do you feel like you've lost a friend in a way as well as a manager? Or is it different? Is there always that kind of, do you know what I mean, manager aura, if you like, where you don't feel like it's a friend in the same way?
Yeah, it's like, can you be friends with your boss?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's what I'm asking. I guess.
I think in the back of your mind, you always know it's the boss. So
yeah.
I mean, you always, not on edge. I don't want to say on edge, but kind of, you know, you respect the relationship that you've got. Someone you can speak to about anything really. With both managers, I felt that way.
Yeah.
But you respect that they are the boss, and you respect the decisions, and respect what they say, and you do what they tell you to do, basically.
How would you feel if you woke up on Monday morning, you put the radio on, and you hear that Jurgen Klopp's the England manager?
Be surprised.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think it was clear when, you know, he announced I mean, when he was leaving Liverpool, and from the conversations I've had with him, and seeing everything that he's doing on social media, it seems like he's enjoying his break. It felt like he needed a break from football. So it would be a huge surprise if that was the case. I think we can rule that one out.
They've said they might give it a little while. I mean, if they were to give it a little while and he felt like he was ready to come back, I guess you'd be happier than anybody for him to be the New England manager if that were to happen. I'd accept entirely that it may take a little bit of time, Trent, without a shadow of a doubt.
Of course, I think I enjoyed every single minute of working with him. We created amazing memories, have an amazing bond and relationship. So if that was ever the case, then pick up where we left off.
I think a lot of people feel that way, actually, particularly Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
The other thing that this is a standout moment from the tournament for me, anyway, the penalty shootout against Switzerland. I mean, what an extraordinary turnaround in terms of England's record there. A couple of things I wanted to ask you, and I don't know whether you can try and tell the fans how can you explain how you feel, Trent, when you've got that task? Because presumably they asked you beforehand if you wanted to take one.
Not really. You don't really get asked, if I'm honest. It's we all practice in training.
Yeah.
And everybody's more than capable of taking one and scoring one. So by that, everybody wants to take one, and then it's just about who the manager or the staff see in the order and tell you the order. And it's not, I mean, if you didn't want to take one, you would say,
Of course.
but it's not really a question of do you want to take one. If no one said anything, then they'll just tell you and you get on with it, really.
I mean, when you were told you were fifth, so there's a possibility you're going to take England through. Mm-hmm. How do you feel when they tell you that?
Excited, if I'm honest.
Really?
Yeah, excited. Like, I think that obviously is a result of preparation and self-belief of knowing that I can execute what I've practiced every day in training leading up to that moment. So I kind of knew what I was going to do, how I was going to hit it, where I was going to put it. I knew my spot, so it was just about making sure I executed and I was in the right mindset. But also when you take number 5, I think there's always that risk of if the lads before you miss, you might not get to take a penalty. But I think everyone had outstanding mentality leading into it, including Pickford too, who often doesn't get spoken about because obviously he saved one of the penalties which let us go and win it too. So
yeah, you know what I must admit, when I think again that if talking about the psychology of sport, the first save, that's got to be, it's such a tremendous thing. I know it doesn't guarantee anything, does it? But you stood there and you know that if you score every one,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go through.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a huge boost for everyone stood there, I guess, when that happens.
Yeah, I think early on in any situation, whether it's in a game, in a penalty shootout, if you can get the upper hand, it gives you that confidence of knowing that, like you said, if you do go and score the rest of them, then you win. And we were all confident. You seen that with the way that we took them and the composure that everyone had was sublime, really.
I have to say that the Ivan Toney one's a great watch. I don't know, have you seen the video? Have you ever done that where you haven't looked at the ball?
No.
I mean, have you discussed that with him? Have you asked him kind of where he got that method and where it came from?
Nah, I think it's just his process,
Right.
and where he developed it and stuck with it. I'm not sure, but it works for him. Standing penalty record, and it helped us in a massive moment when we needed it too. So, unless it's against Liverpool, then hopefully he carries on doing it.
And can you put into words what it felt like when it hit the back of the net? From your point of view, is it relief above all else, or joy, or just like a combination?
Yeah, combination. To be honest, I think some party is relieved knowing that you've been able to do it, because there is always that little bit of not doubt, but a little bit of nervousness of you might miss hit it, the keeper might save it. There's always that possibility, but It was yeah, it was joy of knowing what you've done. You know, you scored a winning penalty in a quarter final for your country to put them through. You understand the magnitude of it and how many people were watching and how many people were invested in that one moment of you kicking a ball. And then it kind of floods you after you've, because prior to that, when you're walking up, when you're about to take it, you don't think of anything. Your mind's completely clear. You don't really take in what the moment actually is. You know, you don't absorb it. You kind of just see it as another penalty that you've practiced a million times before, and you try and execute it. And then after that, you then realise, wow, that was a huge moment for the country. That was a huge moment for the team, and a huge moment for yourself as well.
It was brilliant the way you wanted to share that with the fans straight away. Almost like everything came flooding in as soon as it hit the back of the net. Is that why you ran across, because you wanted to share that with them, as it were?
Yeah, they supported us through thick and thin throughout the tournament. Throughout the qualifiers, the lead up, the build into it, the 2 warm-up games that we had. You see the passion in the way that they encourage us and get us through games, and you know, it's a moment for them too. You know, keep the tournament going, keep it alive, and move on to another amazing game a few days later.
Would you think that was better than your Barcelona corner, because you had more time to think about it, and you had to really, you know what I mean? You had to contemplate, execute all those things you've just described. Does that give you more of a kick than the Barcelona, which everybody talks about, because it's like,
Yeah,
because of the quick thinking
I
of
think
it, really.
growing up, I mean, you never dream of taking a corner quickly, but you do dream of scoring a winning pen, you know, for your country in a major tournament. So I would say, you know, thinking back to it now, it will be a standout moment for me in my career, no doubt about that. And one that not many players will ever say they've had the opportunity to do. Yeah, score the winning pen for your country in a major tournament is a very, very proud moment for me.
I was at the World Cup final, and it was the best game I've ever seen, the Argentina-France game, for obvious reasons. Would you be the same in a World Cup semi-final, do you think? Do you think you would just be in the same place because it's the same process as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think for me, once you get onto that stage, it's more showing your talent, showing your skill. It's more of an opportunity rather than any pressure, I see it as. I think once you've done it all in training before, you've trained for these moments, so you're confident in knowing that you've prepared yourself. Preparation results in confidence, in my opinion, and going into any game, I feel prepared. So, equally, I feel confident.
Do you agree with Alan Shearer, precious for tyres?
Yeah, what a quote that was.
That was a very good one. I like
that was
one.
very, very good.
I did like that one. Did the opposite, the Lineker stuff about what he said about the England performance being etc. Did that filter through? I know Trippier was talking about it a little bit. Obviously, Harry Kane went on the record. Did you sit as a team and think, right, we're going to prove them wrong? Was there an element where that gave you a little bit of an impetus to do really well in the next game? You know, because as Harry Kane said, he's been there and done it, and Harry certainly felt it was a little bit unfair, Trent, you know?
I think, I mean, we all seen and heard it and felt it, but at the same time, we all felt the same way in terms of we know we can be playing better, we know we can be performing better. It's never nice for people to point it out, but you know, everybody deep down knows it within ourselves too. So it wasn't something that we weren't already thinking anyway. So it wasn't anything new. We spoken about it as a team too, that we needed to improve if we wanted to get far into the tournament. We needed to be playing better. We needed to be better in front of goal. and have better performances. So I think some players may have used it as motivation. Some players may have just ignored it. Some players may have used it in different ways. But no matter what, we understood that we needed to improve, and we went and did that.
And you touched on the England manager's job being the hardest job there is, which I agree with in terms of the public's perception of it and the pressure that gets put onto them. Do you think that kind of thing ultimately is what maybe is led to Gareth leaving? You know, there were a lot of people who were saying, well, if Germany had performed like that and they got to a final, you know, Germany got knocked out as the home nation, there wouldn't have been a problem. You know, they would have been quite happy not playing well and going through. And I'm just wondering if you think the expectation is such that, you know, it means that you're going to lose good managers because it's just unreasonable, really.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a expectation, and I think us as players, and rightly so, we have an expectation to go far in tournaments and to be winning tournaments. I think within the next 2-3 major tournaments, we should be bringing home one or two. And you know, whoever the manager may be, that's the expectation, I think, and that's where the goals and standards that we set ourselves. So of course it's going to be pressure, but not only is it pressure for the manager, but it's pressure for the players to live up to. So I'm not, whether that was the reason why the manager left, I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to put any words in his mouth. But it's his decision. Us as a nation and as a country and players, and a player who's played under him, I have to respect that. And of course, he must have felt like it was the right decision at the right time for him, whatever the reasons may be.
In terms of managers, I can't not ask you about, you know, the new era at Liverpool. You've got two new kind of bosses, haven't you, when you think about it, when you get back after your break?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen much of him? Has he spoken to you? Will you not really do that until you get back? I know you've got a little bit of time off now, Trent. I'm just wondering if he's introduced himself or you've been in to see him.
No, spoke briefly, on the phone and stuff. I think before the tournament started. I mean, I think he respected the fact that I was going to be away on international break, so didn't want to break up any rhythm or speak about club football in that time, and respected that. But yeah, it's an exciting one, a new change, a new start, a new beginning. So I'm excited to get back in and lay the foundations for a good season.
And do you feel like you're now at a stage where, I mean, it's because of all the honours, which are the extraordinary record that you've got, that you're almost in the position where you're going to be guiding younger players? Do you know what I mean? It sounds a bizarre question given your age. You know, you're only in your
I felt like
early
that for
20s,
a while,
but yeah.
I felt like that for a while. The responsibility to help the younger lads in the team, in the dressing room, to adapt and adjust and be a part of it. Because they play a big part within the squad as well. Or there'll be a time when we need them. Be a time when they're given their chance, and that, you know, as a player who's playing with them, I'm gonna need them to perform. So I've always felt like I think I had that guidance from the likes of Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Adam Lallana. So it's only right that I give that same guidance that was given to me too.
Who do you think's your best mate in football? Is it an England player, Liverpool player? Somebody who you would, you know, if you had a problem, you'd pick up the phone and say, what do you think?
I've got a lot of really good relationships. I think it's hard for me to say just one. Right. I think I'm close with a lot of lads. The national team and club football. I'm really close with Andy Robertson. Close with Jordan Henderson. Close with Jude. Close with Adam Ramsdale. For all different
reasons.
Yeah.
In different situations.
Yeah.
I guess you've got quite a bit in common with Jude in a way, haven't you? You know, the remarkable age at which you started. You know, you're one of the few people who can actually say to him, "I know how you feel," given how young he is. When you talk about the future of England, that's quite an extraordinary talent that you've got there, haven't you? Really, when you're talking about winning tournaments, I suppose that's why you should be winning tournaments.
Yeah, when you've got players like him, then of course you're grateful to have him on your team rather than any other nation. He's a player that will help the country win tournaments, successful at such a young age, knows how to win, knows what it takes to win, got the mentality, and of course can play amazing football too. I think it will always be more than just a one-man team or just one superstar that will help you win a tournament. You need a lot of them, and I think looking at the future of England football is very, very exciting. The likes of Jude, Phil, Bukayo, Cobby, Adam Morton, Mark, even. There's so many.
They're so young as well.
Yeah, so
basically.
many. So many. I'm sure I'm missing a load of names as well that have got huge potential. So the future is looking very bright for England fans.
Who's the best player that you've come up against directly, you know?
Against it has to be Messi for me.
Right.
Yeah, the best player I've played. I mean, the best player that's ever played the game.
Do you think he's better than Maradona?
I never watched Maradona, so I don't know.
But in terms, so living now,
to imagine anyone better than what I've been able to see, then I can't. My brain doesn't comprehend it.
yeah.
There's no way anyone can be better than that.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree with that. To be honest, I haven't seen the World Cup. He was brilliant in Qatar. All ends up, wasn't he? And if you had to say why Messi's the best, is it just because of that mesmeric skill he's got? You know, the ball just never seems to leave his orbit. If you know what I mean, is that why you've thought he was something special?
Yeah, it's hard. There's just a different feeling playing against him than I've ever felt with anyone else. There was just, you're always on red alert when the ball's near him. I think it's very rare for a player to have that kind of feeling, to put that feeling into other players. So for that reason, I have to say him. For me, I think in many aspects of the game, he's probably the best at any given moment. He can almost do what he wants on a football pitch. Yeah. So yeah, for that reason, he's the best.
And best Liverpool player, do you think? Who you played alongside? I know that's difficult because you're still playing with such amazing players now. Like, so
yeah, that's a very difficult
I accept
one.
That's a really tough one.
I've played with a lot of world-class players. I'd say Mo Salah.
Right.
Yeah, for me, Mo Salah. I think just this consistency from the minute he first came in to this very day, the consistency he's never dropped, ever. I think it's remarkable what he goes and does and achieves, and a testament to his hard work and to his dedication to the game and to his craft that I'm able to witness on a daily basis. Just that relentless drive of pushing himself day by day to get better and improve and break every record in his sight.
It must have been hard, you know, as a teenager. Again, you know, going in and seeing these people who you've idolised and then you're playing alongside them. Were you able to? Do you think you were in a position where you could kind of handle that a bit better because you'd been there for such a long time, Trent?
No, it's always difficult.
Yeah.
So it will always difficult. I think for me, I just tried to make as good as an impression as I could. It wasn't so much trying to impress the players or that. It was just trying to, you know, do what the manager told me to do and carry out his instructions as best as I could. And I was able to do that. But it is difficult. The level it goes up tenfold. No matter what age you are, when you first step into a training session with world-class players, it's hard to fathom that you have to reach that level, or that's the level you need to be able to get to even stand a chance.
Sure.
But you know, it is within you. You just have to work hard enough to unlock it.
Did you feel like when you walked out onto the pitch, you know, at Anfield, that you kind of arrived, but that was where you were meant to be?
Part of me, yeah, because I'd dreamed of it and I'd worked hard enough to go and get it, and sacrificed a lot along the way to make it happen. But at the same time, you're nervous because it's your first one and you're in front of 50,000-60,000 people. So of course you're going to be nervous. But after your first a couple of touches of the ball, it kind of just fades away, and you realise it's a game of football that you've played since you were 5 or 6 years old, and nothing really changes from that. Of course, the pressures and everything around it, the circumstances change, but when you strip it all back, it's no different from what you've been doing for over 10 years.
Sure.
You know, there's 2 goals, there's an opposition in front of you, and you've got teammates around you, and there's a ball. So it's the same game that you've always known and you've always played.
In life outside, Trent, you're talking about social media. Is it hard being famous in that regard? Because everybody's got a camera now. You know, I'm just thinking about, you know, the criticism that you faced at the Euros. It sounds like an odd question in a way, but you're young and obviously you're switched on. Everybody's using mobile phones. Are you conscious of who you are when you go out now? Do you feel like you've got to be a little bit like a role model at all times, if one can put it that way, both on and off the pitch?
Yeah, but I've felt that way since I was in school, if I'm honest. I'm very used to making sacrifices. So now when I do have to make sacrifices and I'm not able to go to places that my friends are able to go to, or I can't go out on a weekend or anything like that, nothing like that affects me. You know, I understand what comes with the job.
Sure.
I don't dislike it. I don't have any feeling towards it. I just see it in my mind as it's all part of the job.
Sure.
You know, people are gonna recognise me when I go out. They're gonna ask me for pictures. They're gonna ask me to sign things. That sort of thing for me is, you know, everything that I dreamed of, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
When I was growing up.
Just see this part and parcel of the job in other
Yeah,
words. Yeah.
And I got my head around that from a very young age.
Sure.
That being a footballer is not just about kicking the ball around the pitch. It's about what comes with it, the responsibilities of looking after yourself, and being elite at all times, making elite decisions on and off the pitch, and putting football first in every decision that you make. Well, that's when any decision that has to be made is this gonna benefit me? Is this gonna harm me? Is this good for me or not? Every decision in your life always results back to whether it's gonna help you or not within the game. So, and that it's been like that since, you know, I was a teenager.
No, I can understand that. It's just the psychology I find really interesting. I've just been interviewing a runner who's, you know, aiming for a gold medal, has been working for it for 4 years. Obviously, you've worked for it a lot longer in the sense of preparing for your football career. It's almost like you've got to have an inner conviction, I think, to be successful to a certain extent, haven't you? What's really interesting in the England setup is the penalties, for example, where we always missed. And now there's a kind of feeling, that's certainly how I felt with this group anyway, that you will win. You know, so when games went to 0-0, even in the final, I think a lot of people were thinking, if you can hang on, if it gets to penalties, we'll win on penalties instead of lose on penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested as to how that's changed. You know, when you're talking about your conviction and the player's conviction, have you spoken to a sports psychologist about it, about how you get your head around that, about what you face when you walk up there?
Well, I think, you know, the staff and that, they implement things that are psychological. So it's not like the players speak to a psychologist, but I think maybe there's aspects of our preparation that come from the psychological point of view within the game. We know what we're gonna do. There's no winging it.
Yeah.
For us, it's not a game. It's not a chance. Yeah. So when a penalty shootout does come, like I said, it's not a game of chance anymore. We know exactly what we're gonna do. Of course, we don't know exactly what they're gonna do, but as long as we know exactly what we're gonna do, we know our routines, we know our preparation, we know our roles and responsibilities within it. It's about going and executing it, and that then, you know, slightly tilts the scales in your favour, I think.
Did you set out to Elliot to give it some real Because it was the second most powerful shot of the Euros, which I'm sure you're probably aware of, 70 odd miles an hour or something. So that obviously was a big part of what you were going to do.
Yeah, I knew what spot I was going for, and I trained for it. I think that's down to probably I have to say probably a thank you to Ramsdale, Dean Henderson, Tom Eaton, who helped me in training, because they obviously knew what spot I would go for. So when I was practicing, they would dive that way. So each time I had to put it more and more in the corner with a bit more power.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so by the time Switzerland came around, I'd almost perfected what I was going to do.
So what you mean is the goalies actually knew where you were going to put it?
Yeah, in training, yeah.
Yeah.
So they knew where I was going to go, which made it harder for me.
Of course.
Sometimes he'd save it, and it's never nice having a pen saved in training. But in my mind, I knew that, you know, that's because they're 100% sure they know where I'm going. Whereas in a shootout, the goalkeeper's never going to be 100% sure. So
yeah,
if I hit it with the power and the precision, then I know I can. Now, if a keeper has any moment of doubt of which way I'm going to go, it's already too late.
And if you've got a dream now, would it be to go and win? I mean, very simple question for a footballer, I suppose, but would it be to go and win the World Cup? Would it be to go to America? And
100%. That's already where my head's at. As I'm sure every fan and everyone who is involved with the team, that's where all our mentality is at now, is going and getting that one step further than what we've been. And I think with the quality of the squad we've got, obviously, not sure who the manager will be, but whoever is appointed will have that same mentality, I'm sure.
And I was talking a little bit beforehand about the charity that you've got, which is basically helping young people, give them the chance to break through, in simple terms. Trent, I wonder if you could talk me through a little bit about that. I know it's been set up in Liverpool specifically to give kids the opportunity to take part in sport, and obviously you might be aware of the fact, there was a lad who was gunned down, unfortunately, right next to the Liverpool training ground in Kirby, which I know is where you went to school, isn't it? And I presume that you're really keen to try and get people, the kind of opportunities that you had. That's what it's all. I guess that's what it's all about from your perspective.
Yeah, of course. I think that's always been something that, from when I first broke into the team, has always been important to me and my family. Is helping others get opportunities that I was given and fortunate enough to have. A lot of people around the city, especially, are not given those opportunities and go down the wrong paths and end up in trouble and whatever. So it's important I feel like it's an important thing for me and the family to be a part of and to get behind and support. The more opportunity we're able to give, then the more chance that young people have got within the city.
Does it mean a little bit more, do you think, when you're born and brought up there? Because obviously the number 66, I think, is because you've been in the youth system for such a long time, haven't you? Didn't you start like as a school kid effectively? Is it like...
Yeah. So I started when I was 6 at the club. So, I mean, I think everyone feels a responsibility for where they're from and where they're brought up, and feels a responsibility to give back and help others. So whether it means more, I don't know, but I feel a responsibility for Liverpool as a city and the people of Liverpool and the young people, and helping them and helping the city thrive and get better, really.
Are you quite shocked at the number of gun incidents? I mean, this is the latest, and I'm sure you know a spate of them, particularly in and around Kirby. Actually, funny enough, obviously you've got the poor Ben who was killed, Oliver Olivia. It's 2 years ago now, but there was a spate then. There's been a lot of violence involving knives and crossbows. There's obviously like an underbelly there, isn't there, in terms of the drug wars, isn't there?
Yeah. I think it's heartbreaking to see within the city. I think I feel like everybody feels that the same way when they see it or hear the news, whenever an incident does occur. But I'm sure, you know, everybody, the police, the authorities, and everyone are doing their utmost best to try and handle all those situations. But obviously, thoughts and prayers go out to all the families and friends and people who are affected by these sorts of acts of violence.
And the charity that is the idea behind it, the central principle, to give young kids a bit of a chance, a bit of a leg up, really.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to give people chances and opportunities. It's very easy, especially within the city, to be led astray and to be led down the wrong paths. Especially when there's no light at the end of the tunnel really, and you've got to do things to get by. So, it's important for me, like I said, my family, that we give people as many opportunities as possible to, make the right choices and be successful, really.
I spoke to your mum when you got called up, actually, and she was telling us all about, how proud she was when you first got called up for England, because you were really, really young. And we're talking about your family. Your family all done extraordinarily well, haven't you? So you're a living testament to the fact that you can achieve, come what may. I know you've got an extraordinary talent, Trent, obviously, but I guess that's the message, that you can do really well.
Yeah, I think it is within everyone. It's just about, my talents, everybody's talents. If you're not given the right opportunities or given, a chance, then they become wasted and you never unlock your full potential. Like I said, you've got to hope that you get the right opportunities at the right time, that give you that chance. And I was fortunate enough to be given those opportunities, and likewise the people around me. So, it's about giving other people those opportunities too.
That's great. Thank you very much for your time.
No,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Really good to meet you.
Thank you.